Over the past week, I ate over 4.5 pounds of butter. That's over 14,000 calories in butter alone this week. And to my surprise, my genuine astonishment, I lost 0.8 pounds, and along with that, noticed subjective improvements in my body composition, and honestly, feel pretty great. I know, I can't believe it's not weight gain. But if you stick around, I promise, no more terrible butter puns, and I'll tell you my 3 takeaways from this experiment, and why I ultimately classify it as kind of a flop.
Welcome to my channel. Stay curious.
Lesson 1. Heuristics fail. We have a lot of heuristics in science, particularly within the diet space. And a common one is that 3,500 extra calories equals 1 pound of weight gain. Now, I think that's a fine, loosely defined approximation, but it's not a law of biology, and that's important to understand so we can adjust our expectations accordingly with respect to weight gain or the converse with respect to weight loss. You can't just take a pen and paper out, calculate a 3,500 kcal deficit, and expect to linearly lose 1 pound for every 3,500 kcal deficit that you calculate on paper. It just won't work like that, and if you don't accept that, you'll end up maybe being disappointed. Lesson 2. Bodies respond differently. You didn't need my butter eating to prove that to you. That's intuitive. But if you look at the literature, the signal is actually very, very strong. With respect to overfeeding trials alone, there can be up to a 10-fold variation in the amount of fat people store when overfed based on variations in non-exercise activity thermogenesis alone. That's those little jittery movements that some people make throughout the day. I.e., you feed some people extra and they just upregulate to compensate those little jittery movements. They bounce around like a pogo stick. Other people don't and they end up gaining more weight. Point being, bodies respond differently across dietetics. Point 3 is acute does not equal chronic. Yes, I did lose 0.8 pounds over this week. I can't really tell you why. I haven't mastered metabolism. In fact, I think a lot of the human body and metabolism is a black box. I do find this interesting, but I would not translate this into a chronic result. In other words, I wouldn't say because I lost 0.8 pounds and noticed a subjective improvement in body composition, I still wouldn't translate that to a chronic effect. I still wouldn't say, oh, now I can eat over 4,000 calories a day for the rest of my life and continue to improve my body composition. Acute doesn't equal chronic. And it's interesting to highlight it in this context because I think where it really matters is the converse. When you have dietary trials, we look at a lot of dietary trials and they are short-term trials, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we draw a lot from them. But acute doesn't equal chronic. If it did, I should just keep eating 4,000 calories, including 2,000 calories of butter every day until I'm 70 and hopefully I'll keep my six-pack. But I don't think that would be the case. Okay, I also did say this was a flop of an experiment. That's because I wasn't actually trying to lose weight. I was actually trying to gain weight as part of a lipid manipulation experiment to show that I could drop my LDL cholesterol by consuming excess calories from saturated fat, which friends and colleagues have actually done before me, so I'm pretty confident that it would work. But it was a flop because the lab screwed up and didn't order my final lipid panel. They actually just ordered another Lp(a). So I actually noted a 10% drop in my Lp(a), but I actually don't have my lipid change, which means I'm probably gonna have to take a break and do this experiment again. So, bummer for me. Surprise! The video's not over. And look, I changed and I don't have glasses. Kind of like Peter Parker in Spider-Man, although I haven't gotten spider powers, unfortunately. But in all seriousness, after sleeping on this video, I was reflecting and I wanted to share some transparent thoughts with you. Those of you who have been with me for a while might have noticed a change in vibe in this video. On the surface, one might even call it clickbaity, so I wanted to unwrap that a little bit and explain my intention. Because those of you who have been with me know my content's generally pretty nuanced and academic. I love to break down cell metabolism in Nature papers, go through the graphs and the stains and try to digest the data in a way that is accessible to the masses, and I think people really appreciate that. It's my little niche, it's where I feel comfortable, it's what I really love doing, that and intellectual engagement in debates. That's my bread and butter, so to speak, and pardon the pun. But More than that, my career mission, my life mission really, is to make metabolic health mainstream. And that has many parts. Part of it is clinical work that I'll be doing. Part of it is research. That's the bulk of my time. And then this newfound element, the tip on the iceberg that you get to see, is my developing social media presence and this presence here on YouTube. And I'm trying to figure out how to have the biggest impact there. And it's complex because this is a complex ecosystem. And what I'm realizing is to have a voice and grow a presence, you need to engage in a little bit of showmanship. It's just the practical reality of the space. And so I'm trying to figure out how to do that authentically. And what I'm playing with in this video is what I guess I'd call something that's provocatively reasonable, something that on the surface does look clickbaity. It has the wrapping paper of such, but when you take the wrapping paper off, what follows does follow from the cover, from the engaging hook and the thumbnail and the title, which are sensational. It does follow from that, but they're actually quite reasonable teaching points. So when I made this interesting observation to myself, it wasn't that subtle, but oh wow, I was actually surprised, I really was, that I lost weight eating a lot of butter, that I was thinking, what can I take away with that? What can I really take away from this observation that is a reasonable, set of lessons? And I came up with heuristics fail, all bodies respond differently, and that acute doesn't equal chronic, which I think are three legitimate and very reasonable lessons, hence provocatively reasonable. Something on the surface looks like clickbait, but it's legit bait. It's something that was an interesting observation, and what can we take away from that? And what value can I add with this observation to provoke genuine thought? So that was my effort and mission in doing this video, along with playing with things that are new to me. I'm comfortable in the lab, I'm comfortable reading papers. Looking at click-through rates and retention rates at 30 seconds are new teachings for me. And so I'm exploring with what tools I have to kind of capture your attention and tell a story. That's a new skill that I'm happy to be transparent. That's why I put so much editing effort into the first 30 seconds, because retention rate at 30 seconds matters. I don't have trouble telling you that. So what I'm really saying here is that I don't want you to be afraid that I'm losing the roots of my channel and what I want to do here. I have a very clear vision of that. And the core of what I'm going to continue to do is scientific breakdowns, intellectual engagement. But I think in synergy with that, it's fair to do this kind of provocatively reasonable thing, where I have things that are a little bit more entertainment value, but still hopefully linked to thought-provoking observations that add some degree of value. So I'm going to ask you now in my call to action to give me feedback. Did I achieve my goal? Was this of value, or was it just internet trash? Please use nice feedback. It'll be easier to receive, but regardless, whatever feedback I get, I'm going to listen to and I'm going to grow and develop. I'm not a career influencer. As I said, I'm a med student and a PhD who's now newly exploring this space and developing whether or not this is something I really want to do. So I am learning here, I am evolving, and I want you to help me. Hopefully this is a fun video for you to listen to, and you didn't feel I was losing any of myself in it. I'm very aware of why I'm here and what I'm trying to achieve. This is just a new avenue that I'm exploring. New techniques, new learnings, all very fun. Thanks for listening.